Secrets of Willow Creek. The first time I heard the name Willow Creek, I was sitting in a crowded newsroom in Chicago, staring at a photograph that had arrived in a plain brown envelope. The photograph showed a young woman standing beside a river. She was smiling at the camera, her dark hair blowing in the wind. Written on the back in shaky handwriting were 4 words. She didn't drown. Find out. At first, I assumed it was another anonymous tip. As an investigative journalist, I received strange messages every week. Most led nowhere. But something about the photograph bothered me. The woman in the picture was identified as Emily Harper, a 28-year-old schoolteacher from a small town in Missouri called Willow Creek. 3 years earlier, she had supposedly drowned while hiking near the creek that gave the town its name. The case had been ruled an accident. Closed. Forgotten. Except someone clearly hadn't forgotten. And now they wanted me to know about it. 3 days later, I drove into Willow Creek. The town looked exactly like a postcard. White churches. Neat houses. American flags hanging from porches. Flower boxes beneath windows. The kind of place where everyone knew everyone. The kind of place where secrets survived for generations. A faded welcome sign greeted visitors. Welcome to Willow Creek population, 4,217. As I crossed the town square, people turned to watch my car. Outsiders were rare here. Journalists even rarer. I checked into the only motel and immediately headed to the local diner. Every investigation starts with listening. The diner smelled of coffee and fried onions. An elderly waitress approached. "What can I get you?" "Coffee," I said. She poured a cup and glanced at my notebook. "You're not from around here." "No." "What brings you to Willow Creek?" I smiled. "Research." She didn't smile back. The first person I interviewed was Emily's mother. Margaret Harper lived alone in a modest white house on the edge of town. She answered the door cautiously. When I introduced myself, her expression changed. "You came because of Emily." It wasn't a question. "Yes." For several seconds, she stared at me. Then she stepped aside. "Come in." The living room was filled with photographs. Emily as a child. Emily graduating college. Emily teaching children. Emily smiling beside friends. Every image suggested a life interrupted too soon. Margaret handed me tea. "They said it was an accident." "Do you believe that?" "No." The answer came instantly. I leaned forward. "Why?" "Because Emily was terrified of deep water." I blinked. Terrified. She couldn't swim. That immediately caught my attention. According to official reports, Emily had slipped while hiking near the creek and drowned. But if she feared water, why would she hike alone near dangerous riverbanks? Margaret continued. "The sheriff told me she lost her footing." "Did she often hike there?" "Never." I opened my notebook. "Then why was she there?" Margaret's eyes filled with tears. That's what nobody would answer. I spent the next several hours reviewing public records. The official file was surprisingly thin. A search team found Emily's body in Willow Creek. No signs of struggle. No witnesses. Case closed. What struck me most was the speed. The investigation lasted less than 48 hours. For a suspicious death involving a young woman, that was unusually fast. Something felt wrong. By sunset, I decided to visit the creek. The water flowed quietly through dense woods outside town. Birds chirped overhead. The scene appeared peaceful. Too peaceful. I walked along the trail mentioned in police reports. After 20 minutes, I found the location where Emily supposedly fell. The bank was steep, but not impossibly dangerous. Someone would need incredible bad luck to tumble into the deepest section. As I examined the area, I noticed something strange. A rusted metal sign partially hidden by vines. I pushed vegetation aside. The sign read, "Private property authorized personnel only." The date on the sign indicated it had been installed 4 years earlier. 1 year before Emily died. Curious. Very curious. Back in town, I searched property records. The land surrounding the creek belonged to a local development company. Its owner was a wealthy businessman named Richard Calloway. Calloway wasn't just rich. He practically owned half the town. construction projects, rental properties, commercial buildings, even the local newspaper. The more I researched him, the more frequently his name appeared. Powerful men often become interesting when investigating unexplained deaths. The next morning, I requested an interview. To my surprise, he agreed. Richard Calloway's office occupied the top floor of an elegant brick building. He greeted me warmly. Journalists usually call before driving across 3 states. I smiled. Sometimes stories are worth the trip. His smile faded slightly. What story? Emily Harper. For the first time, he looked uncomfortable. Only briefly. Then his confidence returned. Tragic accident. Did you know her? No. The answer came too quickly. I noticed family photographs on his desk. Expensive watches. Awards. Evidence of influence. What was your company's interest in the Creek property? Future development. Why were private property signs posted? Liability concerns. Reasonable answers. Almost too reasonable. Experienced liars often prepare explanations long before questions arrive. When the interview ended, he shook my hand. His grip was firm. His eyes weren't. As I left, I knew one thing. Richard Calloway was hiding something. I just didn't know what. That evening, someone followed me. I first noticed a dark pickup truck in my motel parking lot. Then again near the diner. Later outside the library. Coincidence seemed unlikely. I drove several extra turns. The truck remained behind me. Eventually it disappeared. But the message was clear. Someone wanted me nervous. Instead, I became determined. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Around midnight, a note appeared beneath my motel room door. No signature. No explanation. Just an address. And one sentence. Look beneath the old mill. The next morning I drove there. The abandoned mill stood beside the creek, hidden among trees. Its wooden walls were deteriorating. Windows broken. Roof sagging. The structure looked deserted. I climbed carefully beneath the building. At first I found nothing. Then I noticed a loose board. Underneath lay a metal box. Inside were documents. Dozens of them. Financial records. Property surveys. Internal correspondence. I sat on the ground reading page after page. My pulse accelerated. The documents revealed something shocking. Years earlier, environmental inspectors had discovered chemical contamination near Willow Creek. Dangerous contamination. The source appeared linked to construction activities connected to Calloway's company. If made public, cleanup costs could have been enormous. Potentially millions. And then I found Emily's name. She had reported the contamination. Repeatedly. To state authorities. To environmental agencies. To local officials. Nobody listened. Or perhaps nobody wanted to. The implications were staggering. Emily hadn't been randomly hiking. She'd been gathering evidence. She had discovered something. And shortly afterward, she died. Now the accident theory looked increasingly doubtful. I needed proof. Not suspicions. Proof. I met with retired Sheriff Tom Reynolds that afternoon. He had served before the current sheriff took office. When I mentioned Emily's case, his expression darkened. Forget it. Why? Because some things bring trouble. Did you investigate her death? No. But you know something. He stared through the diner window. For nearly a minute he remained silent. Then he finally spoke. Emily came to me 2 weeks before she died. I froze. What did she say? She believed somebody was threatening her. The words hit me like a hammer. Who? She didn't know. Why wasn't that included in official records? He laughed bitterly. Ask the people who handled the case. Did she seem frightened? Terrified. Everything changed after that conversation. Now there was motive. Potential threats. Evidence of wrongdoing. A victim trying to expose corruption. The puzzle pieces were finally connecting. But a crucial question remained. Who had actually killed Emily Harper? That night, my motel room was ransacked. I returned from dinner to find drawers overturned. Papers scattered. Suitcase emptied. Nothing stolen. The intruder wanted information. Specifically, they wanted whatever evidence I had collected. I immediately contacted state police. While officers documented the damage, I examined the room. One thing stood out. The photograph that started everything was gone. Only that photograph. Nothing else. Whoever entered knew exactly what they wanted. The next morning, I received a phone call. A woman's voice. Nervous. Whispering. "You need to leave town." "Who is this?" "They know what you're finding." "Who?" Silence. Then, "Meet me tonight." The line disconnected. The meeting occurred after dark. An isolated parking lot behind an abandoned church. I arrived early. 10 minutes later, a woman approached. She appeared around 35. Anxious. Constantly looking over her shoulder. "My name is Sarah. How do you know about Emily?" Tears filled her eyes. She was my sister. My heart raced. Margaret Harper had never mentioned another daughter. Sarah explained why. She had moved away years earlier after family disagreements. When Emily died, she returned briefly for the funeral, then left again. Until now. Why contact me? Because I found something. She handed me a flash drive. Emily mailed it before she died. What is it? Evidence. I rushed back to my room. The flash drive contained photographs, emails, recordings, and notes. Enough material to expose a major environmental cover-up. But one file stood apart. A video. Emily had recorded it herself. The timestamp showed 2 days before her death. I pressed play. Emily appeared exhausted. Scared. She looked directly into the camera. "If anything happens to me, it wasn't an accident." A chill ran through me. She continued. "I discovered illegal dumping near Willow Creek. The evidence leads to powerful people. I've reported it repeatedly." She paused. Then came the statement that changed everything. "Richard Calloway knows I've been collecting information." The recording ended. I sat frozen. This wasn't merely suspicion anymore. It was a direct accusation from the victim. The following day, I confronted Calloway. This time, he wasn't friendly. I placed copies of evidence on his desk. Photographs. Emails. Environmental reports. His face lost color. "You should leave this alone." The threat was subtle, but unmistakable. "Did you kill Emily Harper?" His eyes hardened. "No." "Then who did?" "I don't know. She specifically named you." For a moment, something unexpected happened. Fear crossed his face. Not guilt. Fear. Then he said something surprising. "You're looking at the wrong person." I left confused. Guilty people deny, manipulate, attack. But Calloway seemed genuinely frightened. Of whom? The answer arrived later that evening. A former employee from Calloway's company contacted me. His name was Daniel Pierce. We met outside town. He brought documents. And a story. According to Daniel, the contamination scandal was real. Calloway knew about it. Several local officials knew too. But another individual controlled the operation. Someone with far greater authority. Someone capable of shutting down investigations. Someone capable of manipulating evidence. The current sheriff. Mark Benson. The revelation stunned me. Sheriff Benson had overseen Emily's death investigation. He controlled access to evidence. Witnesses. Reports. Everything. If he was involved, the cover-up suddenly made sense. Daniel continued. "Emily wasn't supposed to die." "What do you mean?" "She was supposed to be intimidated." My stomach tightened. "What happened?" "I don't know. But somebody panicked." That night, I barely slept. The pieces finally aligned. Emily discovers contamination. She gathers evidence. Officials attempt to silence her. Threats escalate. Then she dies. And the sheriff rapidly closes the case. The theory fit perfectly. But theories aren't enough. I needed proof. The proof arrived unexpectedly. The next morning, Sarah called. I found another recording. Within an hour, she met me. The audio file was brief. Only 43 seconds. But it changed everything. The recording captured an argument. Emily's voice. And another man's. The second voice was unmistakable. Sheriff Mark Benson. You need to stop asking questions, he said. Emily replied. I'm not afraid of you. Then came a sound resembling a struggle. The recording ended. I listened 3 times. The evidence wasn't conclusive, but combined with everything else, it was devastating. I contacted state investigators immediately. They agreed to review the material, but bureaucracy moved slowly. Too slowly. Before they could act, events exploded. Late that evening, Sarah disappeared. Her phone went straight to voicemail. Friends hadn't seen her. Her apartment was empty. Panic spread through me. If someone had abducted her, we were running out of time. I drove through town searching. No luck. Then I remembered something. Emily's notes repeatedly mentioned the old mill, the same place where evidence had been hidden. I headed there immediately. Rain poured from the sky. Thunder echoed across the valley. The mill appeared like a ghost in darkness. As I approached, I noticed a vehicle. Sheriff Benson's patrol truck. My heart pounded. I quietly entered. The building creaked beneath my feet. Voices echoed from inside. One belonged to Benson. The other belonged to Sarah. She sounded terrified. I moved closer. Hidden behind machinery, I listened. Benson was desperate. You should have stayed away, Sarah cried. People already know. No, he replied coldly. Not enough. The confession was effectively complete. I activated my phone recorder. Every word mattered. Then a floorboard snapped beneath my foot. Silence. Benson turned. Our eyes met. Everything happened instantly. He reached for his weapon. I ran. The mill erupted into chaos. Wood splintered. Rain crashed against windows. Benson chased me through the structure. I heard Sarah screaming. Then a gunshot. My heart nearly stopped. I turned sharply and crashed through a side door. Outside, mud made footing difficult. Benson emerged seconds later. Weapon raised. Stop. I didn't. Another shot. Closer. Then flashing lights appeared in the distance. Multiple vehicles. State police. Someone had tracked my emergency alert. Benson saw them too. For a moment he considered fleeing. Then he lowered his weapon. The game was over. Sarah survived. The gunshot had missed. Benson surrendered without further resistance. During questioning, the truth finally emerged. 3 years earlier, Emily confronted him with evidence linking local officials to illegal dumping operations. She threatened to expose everything. Benson attempted intimidation. The confrontation escalated. Emily tried to flee. She fell into the creek. Rather than save her, he watched. Then he staged the scene as an accident. Afterward, he manipulated reports and buried evidence. Others helped cover up the scandal. But Benson had been at the center of it all. The arrests continued for months. Officials resigned. Investigations expanded. Environmental cleanup efforts began. Lawsuits followed. The town of Willow Creek became national news. The story appeared everywhere. Television, newspapers, podcasts. For many residents, the revelations felt impossible. They had trusted these people, believed them, defended them. Now the truth stood exposed. Several months later, I returned to Willow Creek. The creek flowed peacefully beneath autumn sunlight. Much had changed, yet much remained the same. Children still played in parks. Neighbors still greeted one another. Life continued, as it always does. I visited Margaret Harper one final time. She welcomed me with tears in her eyes. For years she had lived with uncertainty. Now she finally knew what happened to her daughter. The truth couldn't bring Emily back. Nothing could. But it brought something else. Justice. Or at least the closest thing to it. Before leaving, Margaret handed me a framed photograph. The same image that had arrived anonymously months earlier. Emily standing beside the river. Smiling. Alive. Keep it, Margaret said. You helped her tell her story. I looked at the photograph for a long moment, then nodded. As I drove away from Willow Creek, I thought about how many secrets remain hidden beneath ordinary surfaces. Small towns, big cities, powerful people, trusted institutions. The truth often survives in fragments. A forgotten document. A frightened witness. A photograph inside a brown envelope. Someone always knows. Someone always remembers. And sometimes, despite every effort to bury it, the truth finds its way into the light. Emily Harper had been silenced. But not forever. In the end, her voice was stronger than the people who tried to erase it. And Willow Creek would never forget the secret hidden beneath its calm waters. That's the end of this story. See you here next time at Midnight Mirage Stories.